His lifespan is 1905 to 2004. Question series. Who among the following combines anthropology, history and fiction? किन्होंने इकट्ठे किया था कमला मार्कंडेय, मुल्क राज आनंद, उपमन्यु चटर्जी या अमिताभ घोष? That is Mulk Raj Anand. He was an Indian writer in English. Anand is admired for his novels and short stories, which have acquired the status of being classic works of modern Indian English literature. Mulk Raj Anand about one of the female characters says, "Gauri is my tribute to Indian womanhood." In which novel does Gauri appear? The Road, The Old Woman and the Cow, Untouchable, The Sword and the Sickle. Gauri appears in Mulk Raj Anand's novel The Old Woman and the Cow, that is occurred in 1916. Mulk Raj Anand's father was a clerk in post office, bank, army, navy. Mulk Raj Anand's father was a coppersmith who matriculated and rose to the position of head clerk in Dogra regiment of British Army. In the novel Untouchable, Bakhai's sister is Mohini, Sohini, Sajni, Gulabo. In the novel Untouchable by Mulk Raj Anand, Bakha's sister is Sohini. She is younger sister. Sohini is described as nubile and beautiful, patient and resilient. She bears the brunt of her family frustrations. A novel written by Mulk Raj Anand is entitled Untouchable, Untouchable, Touchable ya Untouchables, that is Untouchable, is a novel by Mulk Raj Anand published in 1935. The novelist established Anand as one of the Indian leading English authors. The book was inspired by his aunt's experience when he had a meal with a Muslim woman and was treated as an outcast by his family. जब उनकी आंट को जिन्होंने मुस्लिम वुमेन के साथ खाना खा लिया था तो उनको काफ़ी ज़्यादा इसी वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा उनके साथ मिसबिहेव हुआ था। इस चीज़ से इन्होंने प्रभावित होकर क्या लिखा? अनटचेबल लिखा। Some key points, exam points. Mulk Raj Anand was a novelist, short story writer, art critic. He calls himself bogus professor. He translated the name idioms and proverbs in नेटिव जो idioms थी वो verbs थी वो इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट की in order to impart a typical local flavor to English identity him. The novelist was much influenced by three events: death of his cousin and classmate Kaushalya, suicide of his aunt Devaki, and his own arrest and caning by the police for breaking the law during the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. All these heroes, as the other men and women who had emerged in my novel and short stories, were dear to me because they were the reflection of real people I had known during my childhood and youth. Who said? किसने कही थी ये? Anand in Professor of Two Leaves and a Bud. Anand was awarded a Silver Wedding Fund scholarship for winning an essay on David Hume. किसने कहा था? He met a girl, fell in love with her, and got inspiration for writing reminiscences modeled on Rousseau's Confessions. The work was entitled Seven Ages of Man. The girl referred here is Irene. Which novel did Anand write under the influence of James Joyce and Mahatma Gandhi? That is Untouchable, that occurs in 1935. His novelist contributed his papers to Criterion. He wrote a confession of 12,000 pages. He was much influenced by Charles Darwin's book Origin of the Species. He also studied the work of Freud and Jung. This novelist passed away 28 September 2004. Identify him, that is Mulk Raj Anand. Anand founded the Progressive Writers Association for Indian under the guidance of Sajid Zahir. Mr. Dr. Anand met a popular American novelist. This American novelist committed suicide that is Ernest Hemingway, who edited Indian literature, that is Mulk Raj Anand. The novel Untouchable was published in 1935 by the efforts of renowned English novelist. Who is this English novelist? That is E.M. Forster. Dr. Anand edited an art magazine entitled Marg. It was Gandhi's Young India, the famous magazine that became the inspiration for writing a novel named Untouchable, that occurs in 1935. यंग इंडिया में जो से प्रभावित थी. A French poet fascinated Anand much. Who is this French poet? That is Arthur Rimbaud. Where was Mulk Raj Anand born? That is Peshawar, Lahore, Amritsar, Jalandhar. Mulk Raj Anand born on 12th December 1905 in Peshawar, British India, now in Pakistan. He was an Indian writer in English, notable for his depiction of the lives of poor caste in traditional Indian society. How many books did Mulk Raj Anand publish before 1935? That is, Mulk Raj Anand had published 5 books before 1935. Persian painting, curries and other Indian dishes, the Hindu view of art, the golden bread, the lost child and other stories. Who wrote the foreword to Anand's novel Untouchable? E.M. Foster wrote the forewords to Anand's novel Untouchable. मतलब इनकी इंट्रोडक्शन लिखी थी. Which of the following novel is not by Mulk Raj Anand? Untouchable, Coolie, Two Leaves and a Bird, The Second Wife. देखो द सेकेंड वाइफ नहीं लिखी गई. द सेकेंड वाइफ इज ए नॉवल बाय मुंशी प्रेमचंद. एल्स आर बाय मुल्क राज आनंद. अनटचेबल दैट अकर्स इन 1935. टू लीव्स एंड अ बर्ड दैट अकर्स इन 1937. कूली दैट अकर्स इन 1936. विच ऑफ दीज इज नॉट अ नॉवल बाय मुल्क राज आनंद? कूली, हीट एंड डस्ट, अक्रॉस द ब्लैक वाटर, द अनटचेबल. कूली that occurs in 1936. Across the black water that occurs in 1940. Untouchable that occurs in 1935 were written by Mulk Raj Anand. And Heat and Dust that occurs in 1975 by R.P. Jhabwala. Mulk Raj Anand died in the year of 2005, 2004, 2003, 2002. That is 2004. Mulk Raj Anand was born on 12th December 1905 in Hindu Kshatriya family in Peshawar, now in Pakistan, and died on 28 September 2004. Which of the following is not work by Mulk Raj Anand? The Private Life of an Indian Prince, Coolie, Kanthapura, Two Leaves and a Bird. We know about that Kanthapura is written by Raja Rao, that occurs in 1938. What was Mulk Raj Anand satirizes in Coolie? Coolie में किस चीज़ पर व्यंग किया गया है? Indian imitation, English society and its consequences, nationalism, industrialization, exploitation of the poor people. Coolie is a novel by Mulk Raj Anand published in, that is, 1937. The book is highly critical of British rule in India and Indian caste system. The plot revolves around 14-year-old boy Munno and his plight due to the poverty and exploitation aided by the social and political structure in place. Which among the following is the author of the Barbers Trade Union? The Barbers Trade Union is written by Mulk Raj Anand, that occurs in 1945 or 44. That. Next, the original title of Mulk Raj Anand's story was The Woman and the Cow, The Village Across the Backwater and Untouchable. Mulk Raj Anand's story published in 1960 under the subtitle The Old Woman and the Cow is Anand's only novel with a woman protagonist. एक ही नावल है जिसमें क्या है, एक ही नावल है जिसमें औरत को इन्होंने मेन पेश किया है प्रोटैगनिस्ट के तौर पे. When was Mulk Raj Anand novel Untouchable published? Mulk Raj Anand novel Untouchable was published in 1935. Exam points. These works of Anand reveals and condemns the uselessness of British patron of education in India. That work is The Lament on the Death of Master of Arts. About which book Anand say it rushed out of me in 1 month? That is Private Life of an Indian Prince. In Untouchable, who was the Jamadar of all the sweepers? That is Lakha. This novel describes a day in a life of speaker by Bakha of 18. Which novel of this? This is Untouchable, 1935. Who tried to molest Sohini, sister of Bakha, in the novel Untouchable? That is Kali Nath. Who is the owner of the pickle factory in Daulatpur in the novel Coolie? That is Seth Prabha Dayal. Mrs. Mainwaring is an Anglo-Indian lady. She appears in Coolie, that occurs in 1937 or 36. Which among the following is the hero of Coolie? You know about the hero of Coolie is Munno. The situation of the evil practice of untouchability suggested by Mulk Raj Anand in Untouchable is a conversation, use of machines, refusal to do dirty works, या social reform. Mulk Raj Anand suggests 3 solutions to the problem, that are Gandhi, Christ and machines in Untouchable. Monu is the central character in the Mulk Raj Anand's novel, that is Kuli is a novel by Mulk Raj Anand published in 1936. Monu is a young hill boy who is dragged into the plains in the false hope of going to work and seeing the world. Anand portrays the life story of Monu as a tragic आएगा यहाँ पे and exam points. Monu, the hero of Kuli, works as a servant in the house of Mrs. Mainwaring. She pulls her, he pulls her in a rickshaw. He becomes weak day by day and dies in Shimla. And dies of किस चीज़ से भी उसकी डेथ हुई थी टीबी. This novel of Anand presents the pathetic condition of the ID tincture laborer of Assam tea plantation Gangu, which with his wife Sajni and daughter Leela goes to tea plantation. There Rigi Hunt is attracted toward Leela, who runs to the hut. When she is followed, Gangu comes out and becomes the victim of the fire of Rigi. The novel referred as Two Leaves and a Bird that occurs in 1937. Lal Singh is taken as a prisoner of war by the Germans in Across the Black Water that occurs in 1940. Lalu, Chiranji and Guggi appears in The Village 1939. The village people humiliate the hero because he gets his hair cut against Sikh religion. Who is the hero and in which novel does he appear? Lal Singh in The Village. Ananta appears in The Big Heart. Who is the mistress of Ananta in the novel The Big Heart? That is Big Heart. Which technique is used in the Big Heart? Stream of consciousness. आपको पता है stream of consciousness में जेम्स जॉयस और वर्जीनिया वुल्फ इन्वॉल्व हैं. ये क्या होती है, ये टेक्निक क्या है? जब हम किसी पुरानी याद को याद करके स्टोरी उसके इर्द गिर्द घूम रही है और इसी के इर्द गिर्द ही हमारी स्टोरी चल रही होती है, उसको स्ट्रीम ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस कहा जाता है. दिस इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ ऑटोबायोग्राफिकल नावल विच इज़ एक्सप्रेस आनंद experience in the first 7 years of his childhood. This novel is 7 Summers. I Am a Rat. This appears in a famous book of Anand. This book is Private Life of an Indian Prince. Who narrates the story Private Life of an Indian Prince? That is Dr. Shankar. This is the story of a married village woman, Gauri, who is ill-treated by her husband and mother-in-law, but she fights against it and finally goes to the city to lead an independent life. Find out the novel that is Old Women and the Cow. Gulabo appears in Untouchable. Colonel Hutchinson appeared in Untouchable. Who calls Coolie a character novel? That was Edwin Moir. I regard untouchability as the greatest plots on Hinduism. This appears in Untouchable. Whose words are these? These words are from this Gandhiji. Yes, why? And the 20th question. Yes, why not the natives run their own show? It is their country and we have really no right to do. Who speaks these words in Mulk Raj Anand's novel Two Leaves and a Bird? These words, yes, why not? These words are spoken by Barbara, okay, in Mulk Raj Anand novel Two Leaves and a Bird. This novel is about the peasant who tries to protest his daughter from a British soldier. The story is based on the tea plantation of Assam. Gangu occurs in Mulk Raj Anand, Two Leaves and a Bird. This novel deals with the topic of oppression of poor, जो गरीब लोगों का प्रताड़ना होती है उसके बारे में. It is about the peasant who tries to protect his daughter from the British soldier. Gangu is a middle-aged peasant living in Hoshiarpur with his wife Sajni and his daughter Leela. In which book of Mulk Raj Anand Bakha is the central character? Bakha is the central character in Untouchable that appears in 1935. The name of the priest who make improper suggestions to Sajni in Mulk Raj Anand Untouchable. प्रीस्ट का नाम हमें बताना है जो प्रीस्ट था, दैट इज़ कालीनाथ. कालीनाथ इज़ द प्रीस्ट हु मेक्स इम्प्रॉपर सजेशन टू सोहिनी इन मुल्क राज आनंद अनटचेबल दैट अकर्स इन 1935. एग्जाम पॉइंट सम आर Who has written the preface of Untouchable? Preface ने लिखा था, that is E.M. Foster. They think we are mere dirt because we clean their dirt. These lines appears in Untouchable, 1935. The Outcasts colony was a group of mud-walled houses that clustered together in two rows under the shadow both of town and cantonment, but outside their boundaries and separate from them. This is the beginning of Untouchable that appears in 1935. This is enough for you for Master Cadre English. If you are preparing, please do prepare all this question and keep your mind concentrating on your study. अपना ध्यान सिर्फ अपनी स्टडी पर लगाएं. एक ही चीज़ को कम से कम 5 बार 6 बार 7 बार देखें. इससे आपकी अच्छी तरह रिवीजन हो जाएगी. हमेशा बार बार रिवाइज करने की कोशिश करें. एक बार पढ़ने से ये ना सोचें कि आपको आ गया. कोशिश करें, लगे रहें. बहुत कम टाइम रह गया है. रिवीजन ही रिवीजन करते रहे. थैंक यू. हैव अ नाइस